Broadcasting live from the Courtside Studios, it's Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhardt, bringing you all of the latest news and stories from Rip City. Coors Light. Choose chill.
While it may not be their best album, Saint Anger is While it may not be their best album, Saint Anger is underrated. It is a good album. It's not their best. It's no Puppets. It's no Justice. It's no Lightning. It's no Black Album, but it's still good. Still good. You know, if a brand new band showed up today and Saint Anger was their first album, people would probably be telling you about how they're the next big thing. Yeah, that's right. Turn into Blazers Courtside for a hot Metallica talk. That's what you get with Chris Burkhardt. That's me. I'm your host today, and this is Blazers Courtside. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is that telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, join the chat there, and of course, you can hit us up at the brand new Rip City Radio text line. 88528 is the number. Standard text messaging rates apply. Just put that number under my best friend Chad. That's what I saved it under. My best friend Chad. I haven't texted it yet. I'm too scared. But you shouldn't be. Text me your Blazer thoughts. Tell me what you think about this team as we approach the holidays here. Christmas just a few weeks away. The Blazers, one game left on their 5-game road trip, a road trip that has not been great to the Blazers. They've taken a few more losses than they intended, a few more losses than they would have liked. And the injury bug has peeked up its little head. It has bitten them a few times, and they're just left scratching that little bite going, why won't it go away? It's been a struggle. Donovan Clingan has missed a few games. Honestly, you guys all know about Drew Holiday and Shaden Sharp and Matisse Thybulle. Those guys have been out for a minute. Hopefully, they will return to action soon because the Blazers need them. The Blazers absolutely need them. Depth is a big hit right now. And I don't mean in the that's a massive hit. I like this song. No, it's taken a hit. And it's been brutal. They need depth. They need their full complement of players. And as I told Chad a second ago, I still like what this team is doing. Because all things considered, all the injuries that they have had to deal with and the way they're playing, I still think the way they're playing and the foot they're putting forward is still their best foot. I think that goes a long way for when they do get healthy and the schedule gets easier of putting them in a really good spot. Once again, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620, or you can hit us up at the brand new Rip City Radio text line, 88528. Or for those of you crazies who have my number, you can text me where friend of the show of Trailcasters fame, Keith Feltner-Smith chimes in. Metallicasters? First off, Metallicasters, that needs to happen. I could all day long have a Metallica Trailcasters intersection podcast where we just break down songs and time signatures and hidden notes. And then we talk about the Blazers, and then we just compare the Blazers to Metallica songs and lyrics. I mean, you and I could do it. If you guys are in the Trailcaster Discord, which is a great place for you to go talk Trailblazers all the time, link in the Trailcaster bio, if you know, you know. Keith is the type of guy who went down the rabbit hole the other day comparing Trailblazers to the process of making sourdough bread. Like, Dame was the money. He bought all the ingredients. Donovan Clingan was the water. You forget that you need water to bake, but he's a very important part of the process. And it's like that is the stuff you get when you listen to the Trailcasters. Once upon a time, we went down that rabbit hole. We compared Trailblazers to Mortal Kombat characters. Like who was Scorpion and who was Sub-Zero, who was Johnny Cage. I can't remember who was who, but it was fun. It was absolutely fun. So Metallicasters, I think we can make that happen. Saint Anger is what Shacker played for the intro. And I feel like the Blazer fans might be a little Saint Angery because the winning is not coming. Meanwhile, the play on the field or on the court, excuse me, I looked up and saw football, so I said field. The play on the court though is a little more like frantic, right? Frantic, tick, 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 tock. The clock is ticking. Everyone's going a little crazy. You have no idea what's going on. It is a little frantic. That is for sure. The Unnamed Feeling is also on that album. And maybe the Blazer fans feel the unnamed feeling. Feelings that they don't know they had. It's a mixture of joy and sadness and everything just all mixed into one. Because the Blazers will make you ride that roller coaster of emotions as they have this year. Again, they've been up and down throughout the year. The games within themselves have been up and down. But I will contend that I love the effort that the team is putting forward. The effort is putting them in a good spot because once they get healthy and this schedule starts to loosen up a little bit, I think they'll be in a really good spot. I think they're going to get into the spot where if they go on a 5-game road trip, they're not losing 4 of those games. Now, the Blazers haven't lost 4 yet, but there's still 1 game left to play. And if they lose in New Orleans, it means they go 1-4 on the trip. That's not what you want if you're a Blazer fan. You want to find some wins. But the Blazers have also had one of the toughest schedules in the NBA to this point. We can look at the standings real quick, my friends, and understand that there is quite obviously one team that stands head and shoulders above the rest, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 23-1. Mind you that the 1 in 23-1 is your Portland Trailblazers. The Detroit Pistons at 19-5, the top of the Eastern Conference. The Blazers have played them both. The Blazers, in fact, have played the Oklahoma City Thunder 3 times. They've played the Lakers, they've played the Nuggets, they've played the Rockets, they've played the Spurs, they've played Minnesota. That's your top 6 teams in the West. They just went on a road trip, saw them go to Toronto. That's a top 4 team in the East. They are playing the best of the best of the best. Sir, Men in Black. You know who they haven't played? Yeah, the Indianas, the Brooklyns, the Washingtons, Charlottes. These teams that are struggling at the bottom end. This game against New Orleans coming up is going to be a big one. New Orleans 3-21 on the season. Hopefully the Blazers can pick something up there. But you look at the Blazers' schedule, as I talked about, they've played the good teams. Minnesota, Golden State, the Lakers, Denver, the Lakers again, Oklahoma City, Miami and Orlando. Miami, a top 6 team in the East, as is Orlando. Then there's New Orleans. They got the win 125-117 in New Orleans on November 2nd. But then games against Houston. Lost a game to Dallas. Wish they wouldn't have lost that. Phoenix, who's better than people thought they would be. Oklahoma City again. They've played Oklahoma City 3 times, and they have to play them 1 more time before the calendar turns to 2026. That's how crazy this schedule is. San Antonio. This game, road trip that saw them go to Toronto, Cleveland, Detroit. 3 good teams. Memphis is a team that matches up with them talent-wise, but the Blazers are just a little more chaotic. I said the difference between the 2 teams to me is what I talked about yesterday is Memphis is consistent, Portland is inconsistent. When Portland is good, they're better than Memphis. When Portland is bad, they are worse than Memphis. Memphis is just kind of consistent. You know what you're going to get. Well, Portland was bad against Memphis, so we saw what happened. Now you look at the rest of the schedule, though. We talk about it starting to ease up. New Orleans on Thursday. A nice break, too. No game today, no game tomorrow, no game Wednesday. That's a 3-day break. They get New Orleans on Thursday, and then home for 2 quick games, Golden State and Sacramento. Keep in mind, Golden State, who enters today, currently just a few games ahead of the Blazers, 2.5 games ahead of the Blazers. They're 13-12, and the Blazers have 2 wins over them on the year. So maybe they have their number. But then the Blazers get 2 games in a row, 1 at home, 1 on the road against Sacramento. Sacramento currently 6-17, the 3rd worst team in the Western Conference. So you would hope that the Blazers can pick those wins up. Then they get Detroit again. And we talked about Detroit. I think Detroit right now is extremely beatable. Yes, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference, but you looked at when that team went on their 13-game winning streak earlier in the year, which ended just a few weeks ago when they lost to the Celtics. That 13-game streak they had saw them get wins against Dallas, who's one of the worst teams in the league, Brooklyn, who's one of the worst teams in the league, Washington, who's one of the worst teams in the league, Indiana, who's one of the worst teams in the league, who they played twice during that stretch, 76ers, who are a play-in team right now in the East. Yeah, they weren't playing the best of the best. The Bulls, same thing, struggling out there. That schedule wasn't as tough as Portland's. After that, you got Orlando. Then you got LA, Boston, Dallas. So there's tough games mixed in there. And then there's Oklahoma City right there. New Year's Eve, December 31st to round out 2025. 2026 starts on the road in New Orleans, on the road in San Antonio on January 3rd. Then you got Utah, a twofer against the Rockets, the Knicks, and then the Golden State Warriors again. And then you look at the schedule, and then you start to see the true relief. Atlanta, who's currently number 9 in the East, is on that schedule. That looks nice. Sacramento again. Washington, couple more games against Memphis, which you should be able to get. You got Charlotte still to come on the schedule. You still got 2 games against Indiana. You still got 2 games against the Brooklyn Nets. You got a game against Dallas on that schedule. Multiple games against the LA Clippers, who are terrible right now. This schedule gets infinitely easier for the Trailblazers as to what it's been through this first just over quarter of the season. So you couple the fact that the schedule is going to get better, and you add in a healthy Blake Wesley some point during the, I think he's going to miss by about half the year, and he's going to be the one who's out the longest. But then you're going to mix in a healthy Drew Holiday, hopefully before the month's over. You're going to mix in a healthy Matisse Thybulle. You're going to get Scoot Henderson back. Things are going to start looking up for your Portland Trailblazers. And I talked about it earlier with Chad, and I mean it in the most respectful way possible, because I think Chris Murray has been doing a lot and been asked to do a lot, because he wasn't coming in expecting to be a 30-minute per game guy, but that's kind of what he's been over the last few weeks. Sidy Cissokho's a two-way guy. He wasn't intended to be spending much time up on the roster, let alone starting at point guard as he's been doing in recent weeks, because, again, no Dame, who you won't have all year, no Blake Wesley, who came in as your third-string guard heading into the season, no Scoot, who was probably your backup, and no Drew, who's your starter. All your guards are hurt. Sidy Cissokho, come play point guard for us. He's been good, all things considered, but he's a two-way guy. Caleb Love's two-way guy. Young Hansen is on your roster, but he spent last week, he started a game down at Child Center for the Rip City Remix. It was a wonderful game, had 20-plus points. But he went from starting a G League game to traveling out to Memphis because he had to start a game for the Trailblazers because Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams are both hurt, both out. One was hurt, one was an illness. So you look at that rotation right now. Look at those guys who played. Look at the names who played in Memphis for me real quick. Javonte Cook, two-way guy. Ryan Rupert, end-of-the-bench guy who has struggled mightily. Dwapreath, great story. Great story. Come up, do the G League thing. He deserves his roster spot. I love Dwapreath. Caleb Love, two-way guy. Chris Murray, end-of-the-bench rotation guy. Shaden Sharp, hopefully will be back in your starting lineup soon. Still kind of coming back from that calf injury. Sidy Cissokho, two-way guy. Denny Avdia, been an all-star thus far. Young Hansen gets the start. He was in the G League the game prior. Jeremy Grant gets a start. He's been your sixth man all year, thrust back into the starting lineup, and Tumani Kamara. Half your lineup is the two-way guys. Yeah, hard to win ball games, but they played their tails off. And when you couple the way the team's playing with some reinforcements coming up on the horizon and the water's getting a little less choppy, I wouldn't worry, because I think the wins are going to start coming for your Trailblazers. All right, we're going to take a break here on Core. Head on over to YouTube, get in the YouTube chat, send us your comments and questions there, or hit us up over to YouTube, get in the YouTube chat, send us your comments and questions there, or hit us up on the text line 88528, and you will join us there, and I'll read your comments on the air. This is Courtside Monday. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt, here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Now back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Johnson with Edie on his back. Wants to post him up, spins past him, drives and dunks. His first point to the night, and it's a pretty bucket for Young Hansen.
Got to play a little highlight there from Young Hansen in the game last night against the Grizzlies. He comes in, gets the start because Donovan Clingan was out with an injury, with a leg contusion he suffered a couple games prior. Robert Williams did not play because he was sick, a little scratch due to an illness. So he didn't play. Young Hansen comes up, gets the start, gets a nice little bucket there. And the thing with Young is he looks good in spurts, and you can see why the Blazers went out and drafted him, and you can totally understand the upside that there is with this young man, this young player. But at the same time, I don't know if he's quite ready for the NBA yet. He is struggling a little bit, gets into some foul trouble, and sometimes, like you saw last night, he gets clocked across the face and is hurt and falls to the ground, and nobody does anything about it because no one cares. Thanks, NBA officials. Thought that was a weird play. But the thing is, people are kind of calling him out a little bit, like, oh, he's not ready, and what were the Blazers thinking? I love what I've seen from Young Hansen, which is why I played that highlight. I want to talk about him for a second. He went down to the Rib City Remix earlier in the week, and like I said, he started the game down there against the San Diego Clippers. He had 20 points. The assist game was strong. He looked good. Talking about the G League, though, a little bit different than the NBA. So when he comes up to the NBA, gets that game against Memphis last night. He played 20 minutes. He had 4 points. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 5 personal fouls. He's learning, though. And one thing about him that you can totally see when he plays is he's got great intangibles offensively. It's just a matter of putting them together. And, sometimes, you talk about like the guy, he still walks like a baby giraffe. He's 7 feet tall, and he's about as coordinated as most 7-footers. But every once in a while, he'll put it together. Those moves in the paint that he can show off, they're good. They might be better than some of the other centers on the roster. I think he has a better back to the basket game than Donovan Clingan, and I'm not trying to just hype him up. He doesn't play above the rim like Robert Williams does, but when he gets his back to the basket and he reads the guy defending him, he does a good job. He does a good job. And if you happen to miss him go to town in Chiles Center with the Rib City Remix, first off, what were you thinking? You should be out there. Place should be sold out. A chance to see the future of the Blazers for you, just in case you missed it. And it doesn't do it justice, just how good he looks, just in case you missed it. And it doesn't do it justice, just how good he looks. So I do implore you, go watch the clips. Just go to the Rib City Remix YouTube page, and they'll have it for you. But take a listen to these calls.
Dylan Jones will launch one from outside, and Jones hits from downtown. 15 points, 3 of 5 from the field. Vincent fakes the pass, the lob for Hansen, and he converts.
And that was a good job by Blake Henson.
Shot tipped by Reese. Here comes Jones for the remix. Hansen open triple. Oh, yeah.
Oh, did I mention he could stretch the floor?
Young can direct the offense.
Look at him.
That pass.
Look at him.
Romeo Weems for the rack attack.
Yeah, Young, I see you directing.
On that one right there, he's up top the three-point arc, kind of back towards the sideline, looking to the other sideline, and kind of no looks, just like shot puts it to the right to the cutter for the easy dunk. It was beautiful.
Traffic out there, big fella.
Dribbles, backs down Ogbede, spins, knocked out of his hands, fades away, and scores!
And there goes that touch on display.
He has such a feathery touch.
Yeah, he does. Nice knockout, but he got the ball right back and a couple of bounces off the iron.
Young, shot fake, drive, the pass, Reese, 3, why not?
And that was all Young Hansen there, looking off the defense area as he sort of started to drive baseline. Fakes the tray, puts it on the deck. Look, you see his eyes. It looks like he's going to throw it to Dylan Jones. Instead, he skips it across to Alex Reese. That's what you call it. There's nothing that this guy can do with me if I just take it to the cup.
House leans in, won't go. Fremantle gets the rebound. Young says, give me that! Jones spins. Young, only with 2 points in the second half. Instead, the dish. Jaquan Wilson with the finish.
And that was a smart play by.
All right, I'm not even playing. Go watch the highlight reel because then you see why they call him, the Chinese Jokic, because he's making Nikola Jokic type passes in that highlight reel. And then again, we're talking the difference between the G League and the NBA. We understand the whole point is it's there. It's there. It's in him. It's just a matter of doing it at the next level. And keep in mind, he's 20 years old. He's playing in the NBA, bouncing around with the G League, getting as much run as he can. The team knows that he is a project, but you got to love the project. You got to love the pieces they've given you to work with because offensively and just IQ-wise, which is something that Joe Cronin talked about a lot on draft night, you can see the wheels turn, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, back to the Blazers, because, again, Young Hansen is just the segue there. He got the start in place of the injured Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams, who was out sick, and he did. He played 20 minutes or 19 minutes. He had 4 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and the points he did score were good. As the highlight we played where he has a defender on him, and he kind of leans to his left when the defender takes the bait. He spins around to his right, gets around him, easy dunk. Those are the type of things that you can hope can translate in the long run. That game against Memphis, though, was a struggle, and I apologize for bringing up the PTSD here because we're going to talk about it. As the Blazers, they tried their best to just sleepwalk through this one, at least in the first quarter. They were down 40-20 before you could even blink. End of the first quarter, they are down by 20 points. They are in a massive hole. They try to claw back in the second half. They play a little better offensively and defensively. They just match the Grizzlies, though, at 26 apiece in the quarter. And then in the third quarter is when they go on their big run. It's a 10-1 run. Then it's a 13-1 run. Then it's a 16-1 run. I think it ended up being like a 21-3 run when it was all said and done. They're right back in the game. But then the whole, idea of, too little, too late, or they just ran out of gas, they didn't have the bodies to keep up, definitely happened. They just couldn't get over that final little hump, and the Grizzlies were able to lock it down, especially in the fourth quarter, where they outscored the Trailblazers 27-18. Big difference in this one. The bench points, man. Memphis, 69 points off the bench to just 35 from your Portland Trailblazers on the bench for the Grizzlies in this one. Cam Spencer had 12. Santi Aldama had 22. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had 16. And Jock Landale had 15. That's a pretty good night scoring. In fact, Santi Aldama's 22 points off the bench was more than any Blazer scored on the night. Leading scorer for your Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant, who had 21 points. Tumani Kamara had 13 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, and 3 steals. Young Hansen, as we said, had 4 points, 17 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds from Denny Avdia. Sidi Sissoko had 6 points, 4 assists. The Blazers bench led by Shaden Sharp, who had 17 points, and Dwap Reith, who had 12. They just couldn't get out of that hole. Also, the free throw discrepancy was unreal. Absolutely unreal. The Blazers had just 18 free throw attempts. Meanwhile, Memphis had 29 free throw makes. They went to the line 39 times in total. That is 21 more times than the Trailblazers, making 11 more than the Blazers even had attempts. The Blazers only made 15. That is a 14-point difference just at the free throw line alone. That's going to be a rough night for the Trailblazers in any way, shape, or form, no matter how you try to slice it. Blazers should have won, could have won that game on paper, but games aren't won on paper. Unfortunately, you have to play them. And as we've talked about it in the pregame show, the Blazers are wildly inconsistent because when they're good, they can go beat the Nuggets and the Thunder and the Warriors and, the best teams in the league. When they're bad, they go and lose to Dallas and lose to Memphis, who is kind of on par with them talent-wise, but is a much more consistent team. And not only did they lose, they got just outworked, outclassed for large chunks of that game. Got to give Blazers credit for making the comeback. But in the end, when you get yourself down 20 in the first quarter, it's going to be hard to mount any comeback and feel good about it as you do. And I don't know about you. Like I said, frustrating. We were talking about, sane anger earlier. And yeah, might have been a little angry after that game. What about Tiago Splitter? Let's take a chance to hear what the coach had to say following that loss in Memphis.
Coach, your thoughts on this one tonight?
Not our best game. I think we started the game off, and we have to roll down 20 for the rest of the game, and it's not easy. They are a solid team. They did the right things. They won the rebound game, and it's really tough to defend or to be a good offense team if you lose those rebounds. Got extra shots, turn over the ball. Too many bad things happening at the same time, so it's tough to win a game like that.
When you did get your technical, it appeared you were trying to let the officials know that maybe that Young Hansen was on the floor. Can you take us through what was going on?
Yeah, I wanted to challenge the call. I thought he was hit, but I was waiting for one of my assistants to watch the film and confirm it. And the referee, usually they give you a couple of seconds there to, make sure you watch. I thought that he was too quick. He didn't give me, and that's why I was trying to call timeout, and then he started the play already.
Speaking of Hansen, how did you feel he did in his start overall?
Yeah, I think his beginning wasn't great, but he finished the game better. It was a great lesson for him and have this experience to go there and play against a big guy, similar to his, size and strength. So, a great lesson for him to get better and to work on his game.
How did you feel you guys did on Edie tonight?
At the beginning of the game, not great. I think he took advantage of us. I think after we figured out a little bit better, but I think their second unit was the one that won the game for them.
Coach, going back to the play with Yang where he went down, did you also think they should have given y'all some time with an injured player down to give you a little extra time to let him up?
Yes. So that's what I was furious. I don't understand. Players in the floor, you always take time to check if he's all right, if he's not. That's why I got the tackle.
It started the second half. What were the things that changed for y'all to make the run in the second half to cut into the lead the way you did?
I think it was the energy. Like I said, we started the game with a low energy. And then, you know how these momentos are. And sometimes you score a couple of times, you got a couple stops, and the players are feeling better and just being more positive and shooting with more confidence. And I think that's what happened. I don't know, we were about like down 3-4, I don't remember now exactly. But it's hard to roll 20 points. But I think we had a chance there. And again, I had to do the subs. We have guys with minutes restrictions, so it is what it is.
And there you hear from head coach Tiago Splitter, and very furious about that play with Young Hansen. He did. He kind of got hit right in the face by the defender. I believe it might have been Zach Edey, Edie, who was on him. Can't remember off the top of my head. All I know is he got clocked. Ball goes out of bounds, and he hits the floor. He face in hand. He's obviously hurt, and the refs just let the game go on. I think everyone was confused. Caleb Love comes over, puts his hand on his back, is trying to check on him. No one's inbounding the ball yet because they're kind of, are we going to stop play or what? And the refs just sit there, and they let him inbound the ball. And the Grizzlies get a free point, basically, because no one's back on defense. Tiago Splitter absolutely loses his mind and, sounds off on the refs, gets a technical for it. And that part was unfortunate, but at the same time, I was wondering the same thing, like why allow that to go on? Saying they said, well, the contact with the ball happened, and that was follow through or whatever excuse they tried to make. He still got hit above the shoulders right on the face, and he's obviously hurt. Now I can understand as dumb as this sounds. Like I can understand if there had been a made basket and the clock's rolling and you don't stop play for that. The ball was out of bounds, so it was a dead ball. Just stop the play. You don't have to reset everything. Just make sure he's okay. I I don't get that. Like look at the Yusuf Nurkic situation. We all remember here when he broke his leg. Like if there's no stoppage of play or no timeout called by a coach, like are you just going to let him sit there with a leg that's broken in half until someone does call timeout? Like you're not going to stop play for an obvious injury. I just didn't get that in that situation. Like he understood that something was right there. You didn't have to inbound the ball. Could at least made sure things were okay and not going back and like checking or anything. Like the dude was clocked in the face. It was an obvious foul. It's just kind of weird that played out the way it did. I'm glad he got the tech though. Show your emotions, man. Show your emotions. And it was a game. It was a chippy game. Denny Avdia, the NBA, they announced he's retroactively getting assessed a flagrant foul for tripping Cedric Coward, and that ended up leading to Ja Morant getting off the bench to get in Denny's face during a timeout, which is like, okay, you're in street clothes, my man. You ain't even playing the game. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not doing yourself any favors. Just back off. Why are we doing this to ourselves? You got to be up in everybody's business and play the enforcer. There wasn't even anything to truly enforce. Bro got tripped. He was fine. And Denny's just talking to the ref, back to you. And you're right there. Got to instigate a little bit. I didn't get that. I understand, okay, well, you stand up for his teammate. But, dude, you're in street clothes. You ain't even playing the game. Just go back to the bench. That's my opinion. I don't like that. There was no reason. I think that moment had passed. Things were fine. Got to get your 10 cents worth, though, right? Got to get in. Ja Morant is a heck of a player. For some reason, these little things he does always just leave you going like, why? Why? Just let your game do the talking. Get out there and play first and foremost. And then when you do, let your game do the talking. Now, speaking of talking, you heard from Tiago Splitter there. Like I said, he didn't like that play from Young, but also, as you mentioned, didn't play good. You can't get out of a 20-point deficit very easily in the NBA, especially when you're down so many bodies, as we've talked about. You're going to struggle. You're going to run out of gas at some point, which is what they did. The biggest scoring run for the Blazers was 13 in a row. That was also the same for Memphis. The biggest lead for the Blazers was early in the game when they led 3-2. Biggest lead for Memphis was when they led 119-93, which was just before the game was over. The Blazers led for a whole 17 seconds in this game. There was only 2 lead changes. Time of possessions, 113.16 for Memphis, 106.92 for Portland. Everything you look at, it's just Memphis dominated the game, took control of the game, dominated the game. And the Blazers couldn't do anything about it. Now the Blazers look to hopefully end this road trip in a much better way than it has started and played out to this point. They get 3 days off, which means there's going to be lots of practices, lots of film session, lots of hopefully getting right. And then you get to take on the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that you got to win over in New Orleans early in the year, and a team that, as we talked about when we were looking at the standings earlier, currently the worst team in the Western Conference and the worst team in the NBA overall by win percentage. They are 3-21 on the season, good for a 1.25 win percentage. The only team in contention right there with them is Washington, who's 3-19, good for 13.6%. So the Blazers enter this game hoping to get going, hoping to get a win against a New Orleans team that has lost 6 in a row. They lost to Memphis. They lost to the Warriors, the Lakers, twice to the Timberwolves. And in their last game, they lost 119-111. And that was against the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn, who entered that game with just 5 wins, picked up their 6th win handily over the Pelicans. And in that game, it was just start to finish. Brooklyn outscored New Orleans 35-24 in the first quarter. Never looked back. Trey Murphy had 26 23 for the Pelicans. Sadiq Bey had 18. Bryce McGowan's, Blazer legend, had 16. Jeremiah Fears had 14. Outside of that, not a ton of production for the Nets. Michael Porter Jr. had 35 points. Noah Clowney had 10. Nick Claxton had 14 points and 11 boards. Terrence Mann had 10. Igor Demin had 8. It's a who's who right there. And they were able to beat the Pelicans. Pelicans currently going toe-to-toe with the Spurs. 3:43 left in the third. And it's a 90-89 ball game in favor of San Antonio. So we'll see what they can do here. Do they pick up win number 4? Or do they look to the Blazers and hope win number 4 resides there? Either way, you hope the Blazers can take care of business and get a win against a team that they should absolutely beat. But if you go back to that game that they played earlier in the season, maybe it's not nearly as easy as you think, because sometimes the Blazers just struggle on nights when you don't think they should, just like they did last night in Memphis. In that game against the Pelicans, the offense just struggled to get going. They were up 30-25 after the first, but in the second quarter, they were outscored 34-27. Put it back on in the third, but that was a game, if you remember, the Pelicans did their best to get back into it and made it a little interesting late. But the Blazers were able to pick up the victory. You'd hope they could do the same here. Only difference between what's happening right now and what happened then is Donovan Clingan was healthy in that game. Hopefully he's a healthy go on Thursday. But Drew Holiday was also available in that game. Shaedon Sharpe was still in the starting lineup. Jeremy Grant was your true sixth man. So you had a couple different rotation options that you haven't had over recent games that hopefully you can get back in time for that one. Because the Blazers need a win, and they need it in the worst way. Update on Monday Night Football. Earmuffs, Shacker. Eagles about to kick a field goal, and they do. Should have been a touchdown, but they had a holding call, called that one back. The fumble by Justin Herbert only harms them for 3 points as the Chargers lead 10-6. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Courtside Monday. When, continue to stay in this conversation, because they're a play-in team if the season ended right now. They're right in that conversation. Continue to stay in this conversation, because they're a play-in team if the season ended right now. They're right in that conversation, which is exactly where we thought they would be. The unfortunate part is they're just not playing the type of basketball that we thought. Most of that's injuries, but what can they do to fix it? What's the future going to look like? We'll talk about it when we return here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Now, back to Courtside with Chris Burkhardt, live from the Coors Light Studios. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Welcome back into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also text us at the Rip City Radio text line. Just text 88528, where we did get a couple comments when I was talking about the Grizzlies game. First off, refs didn't call that foul because that would have been Eddie's sixth foul. You can't do that. They don't want to foul him out, which is also dumb. Like, I can't call that foul. Don't want him to foul out. Punk. I see what you did there. One good question, though, that we had. Punk. I see what you did there. One good question, though, that we had, because I said Young Hansen, the future of the Blazers. And one of our texters asked, is Young the future or is Donovan? I'm a little confused. And the question is very sound, very good. And the answer is, quite honestly, it could go either way. I clearly think Donovan Clingan is the way they want to go. His defensive prowess is potent, and he's the starter right now. But Young might give them an option. If he ends up turning into something, that's pretty good to have. And if you end up having to trade Donovan Clingan at some point because Young Hansen is better, I don't think that's a bad thing. You got to have your depth, and you got to play through that, and figure out what you have on this roster. So it's a good question. And I jokingly text back. I was like, "Yeah, we'll find out in 2028." Well, maybe that's going to be what it takes. I think the future, though, it does include them on the roster. Who is your true future? Who are you hitching the wagon to, so to speak? I think the team wants that to be Donovan. They want him to be more impactful on the offensive side of the ball. I think that, like I mentioned earlier, like Young Hansen might be better offensively already just because, the bag of tricks that he has. Donovan's done a good job expanding the floor and being able to shoot that three. And I don't know if he ever gets that back to the basket game that Young Hansen has. But at the same time, I don't know if Young Hansen ever turns into the paint defender, the menace that Donovan Clingan can be when he's on. The way he rebounds, the way he blocks shots, he completely changes ball games when he's on. Now, he's had up games and down games, but he's a glass cleaner and a shot blocker, and he does both those things incredibly well. So maybe the reason you have a guy like Young is because, it allows you to, okay, we need a little more offense out of our center position. It allows you to bring him in. So it's a good question. I appreciate that question. And if you're confused, I think that's okay because probably a lot of people are. That's why they were confused when they drafted him. But no matter what, you're drafting someone at a position that you already have. And you have to figure that out. The depth play is okay. And sometimes you got to take guys that are projects to see what they turn into. The whole point is if Young hits anywhere close to what the hype is, then you're probably in a good spot. And if you have to move off of DC because of how good Young Hansen is, that's a good problem to have. Definitely a good problem to have. Update on your other NBA scores real quick. Heading into the fourth quarter, those New Orleans Pelicans, those pesky New Orleans Pelicans, have a 102-100 lead over the San Antonio Spurs. Harrison Barnes has 24 points to lead the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox has 8 points, 6 assists. Stephen Castle has 16 points as well on the Pelican side of things. 4 of their 5 starters in double figures. Herb Jones with 11 points. Trey Murphy with 19. Derek Queen with 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists heading into the fourth quarter. So he's on triple-double watch. Sadiq Bey has 17 points as well. So the Pelicans looking for win number 4, which, they're either going to be looking for win number 4 or win number 5 when they take on the Blazers. We'll see which one it is. I would hope that the Blazers could take care of business, though. We talk about San Antonio. They don't have Victor Wembanyama. They're still a good team, though. They should win this ball game. Shouldn't struggle. That third quarter, though, it was 45-23 in favor of the Pelicans. The Spurs got to turn that one around. I would hope the Blazers can go in, though, and get that win. It's going to be big to get that win. Get back in the win column. Get their 10th win of the season. Start approaching that 500 mark. I still think this team can do it. I still think they're a 500 team. I think the injuries have just absolutely caught up with them. And that's been the unfortunate part to the year. One thing I can't take away from this team, and I do hope that as they continue to get better, they have the potential to rattle off some wins is the fact that they are playing hard every single night. Shorthanded, they play well against Detroit. They get a win in Cleveland. Let one slip away because they quite frankly could have won that game in Toronto. You take away the Oklahoma San Antonio games, but they let one get away against Chicago. Could have won that game. Let one get away in their previous long road trip in Orlando. The Desmond Bain game winner could have won that game. It was a close one in Miami. Could have won that game. They have some blowouts in there, of course, too. At Houston, that's a great ball club, so you kind of understand it. The Oklahoma City games, yeah, because Oklahoma City is the best team in the NBA. But they've been playing their tails off and have a couple of these games that are real close games despite everything that they're battling. If they're continuing to play close games while they're starting G League players in their lineup, starting two-way guys, playing two-way guys 30 minutes, and they're continuing to play close games, that's a good thing in the end. Healthy, because getting healthy is going to be key. All right, music's on. That means it's time to go. Get healthy, because getting healthy is going to be key. All right, music's on. That means it's time to go. But for all you sports junkies, coming up next, puck's about to drop. Kraken taking on the Minnesota Wild in Seattle, so that should be a fun one for all you hockey junkies. Blazers will be back in action on Thursday against the Pelicans. That tip-off set for 5 o'clock, which means I will have game day for you at 3. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. It's good to have the Rip City Drive with Chad back. Welcome back, Chad. Until next time, there's only one way to sign off on Courtside Monday. It's different than all the other shows. It's my baby. And how do we do that? Until next time, Rip City, as always, I love you.